Hi everyone, with Christmas around the corner, I thought that it would be cool to show another 10 Christmas levels in games that aren't Christmas games. If you haven't seen the first video, please check that one out. Like before, I'm also going to broaden the term level to just include a segment or mission. Basically, if it's Christmassy or has Santa Claus in it, it's a Christmas level. If I missed a game with some Christmas levels, please say so in the comments and I hope you guys enjoy. It's on like Donkey Kong, specifically the third one. If you've seen my prior video, this is not the first N64 game that I've talked about on this list, and it's not the first Rareware game that I've talked about either, but I know that Donkey Kong has its fans, so I thought I should mention it. Anyways, back in the day, 90s games had these things called cheat codes that you didn't have to pay for, really a different time back then. To use a cheat code in Donkey Kong Country 3, all you would need to do is input some button combinations in the file select screen for the cheat you wanted to use. One of these codes is the Christmas themed bonus game. So we just highlight a save file and input the following code. For this one, we put in Merry after the code. Once you are done, you should hear a Dixie cry to confirm that you put in the correct code. There will then be some changes to some of the bonus games. In Collect Stars, stars are replaced by ornaments, and in collecting green bananas, they are replaced by presents. It's not a super big Christmas Easter egg, but I think it's cool enough, especially given that this was a bonus sheet on the N64. Sam & Max Beyond Time and Space, or Sam & Max Season 2 Episode 1 Ice Station Santa, takes place in the North Pole after Sam discovers that the hitman that was sent after them came from the North Pole.
Wasn't sent by some lowly goldfish. It was sent from a bleak and desolate wasteland by the most ancient and powerful opponent we've ever faced. A hairy, bloated, pagan god. Santa Claus!
The two then head to the North Pole and start their investigation. We find out that Santa is shooting at his elves with a machine gun, and Sam and Max find evidence that an evil spirit is running amok in the North Pole. Sam and Max eventually call forth the three spirits of Christmas, which are past, present, and future. Yada yada yada. There is an evil spirit that possesses Santa after he eats some jello, and then, I'm not joking, Sam and Max decide to send the possessed Santa to Satan in hell. Isn't Christmas wonderful, guys? Sorry if you haven't played that episode, I sort of spoiled all of it. Now let's talk about superheroes with Spider-Man Miles Morales. What makes this a Christmas game is that it straight up takes place during Christmas time. Really, that's a big reason for it being on this list, but it's so much more than that. In one of the story missions, we get to celebrate Christmas with Miles' mom and explore their lovely decorated home. I think my favorite moment is when Miles turns on the Christmas tree.
Glad Dad's tree survived the move.
Me too. He loved that little guy.
Ain't no Christmas like a Brooklyn Christmas. Miss hearing him say that.
Really, just exploring the house and city just puts me in a Christmas mood. But wait, there's more. We can also give Miles a Santa hat and scarf in his spider suit to wear, and nothing says Christmas more than a Santa hat. And of course, that would be meaningless if there wasn't snow, but luckily there is snow in New York during wintertime. In a similar vein as Miles Morales, Batman Arkham Origins shares its fate of being labeled by me as a Christmas game just due to its time period. Basically, the story of Origins is that Batman has a bounty placed on his head, and assassins come to Gotham City to kill him, and it all happens on Christmas Eve. I'm not too sure if to count this as a Christmas game, but technically it takes place during Christmas time, so by definition it's a Christmas game. It doesn't have Batman and Robin having Christmas dinner and Robin lighting up a Christmas tree like in Miles Morales, but I'd say this is as close to a Batman Christmas game as we'll get. If Die Hard can be considered a Christmas movie, then I think Batman Arkham Origins can be considered a Christmas game. This is the last technicality on this list, I promise. As was the case of Spider-Man and Batman, Dead Rising 4 also takes place during Christmas time. We get to fight some elves, see a bunch of Christmas decorations, but there's one section of the game that I think embodies Christmas. This is when we fight none other than the big-boned man himself, Santa Claus. But it's not just relegated to this area. When we enter the mall, we can see a big Christmas tree and many other decorations. Now let's talk about a shooter. As I haven't shown any shooters yet, and the series is Borderlands, specifically Borderlands 2. For the Christmas level, we need to get the Headhunter DLC. So in this DLC, the typical Borderlands loot boxes are replaced by presents, and my favorite part is we get to hear some Borderlands renditions of Christmas carols. I really like the singing, so here's a piece for you guys.
Honey hum till you're in my tum. 3 swinging midge, all in my fridge. Teeth a rattle, teeth nice and shaking, shaking. Till my nasal spray will be 3.
Most importantly, what makes Christmas special is hearing bells ringing, and we get to jingle some bells. But jingling the bells comes with a price, and we will then have one of the funniest boss fights on this list, which is to fight against a giant snowman. This is a really cool boss fight, and as can be expected, the music during this boss fight changes to resemble a Christmas carol. We talked about a shooter, now let's talk about a fighter. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 has a Christmas stage called Arctic Dream. This level actually takes place in Finland, so it's close to the North Pole but not actually at the North Pole. But that's not important. As expected, this is a good Christmas level since we see Christmas lights and Christmas trees, reindeer and snowman, and a couple men dressed up as Santa Claus all in the background whilst these fighters beat the life out of each other. They haven't yet learned to use their words, I suppose. In my opinion, the best part about this stage is that at some point during the fight, if we look at a certain part of the background, we can see literally the real Santa in his sleigh with his flying reindeer in the sky. I really wasn't expecting to see this much detail in a fighting game. Now let's take a look at the PlayStation exclusive vehicular combat series, Twisted Metal, specifically Twisted Metal Small Brawl. This is an interesting game in its own right because it, 1, released on the PS1, and 2, it released in November of 2001. This is sort of a follow-up game to the PS2 game Twisted Metal Black, which released on the PS2 in June of 2001. But that is a topic for another day. Twisted Metal Small Brawl was more or less aimed at a younger audience as it featured radio-controlled toy cars instead of full-size vehicles like the rest of the series. The map of interest to us is called Holiday Havoc. The battleground is the interior of a house with a Christmas tree with presents under it, a train on a track going around the Christmas tree, and Santa Claus stuck in the chimney. We can even shoot Santa in the chimney. Unfortunately, we don't get anything for shooting him though. Maybe a spot on the naughty list, but I can't show that without hacking. This one is for me, and I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't at least mention this, but let's talk about the Persona series. I haven't played the first or second game, so I apologize if there are Christmas events in those games, but I've played from Persona 3 onward. Anyways, having a date on Christmas Eve has sort of become a tradition in the Persona games. I'm calling it here. If Persona 6 releases, we will get a date on Christmas Eve. So in Persona 3, we can spend it on a date. There's even a Christmas tree in the background, and of course the protagonist says all the right things. In Persona 4, you can spend it on a date with Yukiko, also known as the best girl, objectively speaking of course. And Persona 5 kept the tradition with more dates on Christmas Eve. This vendor even wears the Santa outfit, so we know it's official. I also didn't know that Christmas cake was a thing, so thanks Persona 5. These are not overtly Christmas levels, but at least the spirit of togetherness, being with your fellow man, or in this case woman, happiness, and other crap like that is in there, so I think Persona is doing something right. And finally, to round out this list, we have another Sega game, Shenmue. Just like Persona, we play this game one day at a time. Thus, we will be able to play during the in-game time of Christmas Day. Once we enter the town and walk around, we will be able to see wreaths in some shops and Christmas signs and none other than Santa Claus. Sadly, this Santa Claus is not able to help us find a job at the harbor. He may be all-knowing and have infinite magic, but Santa is confirmed in Shenmue to not be able to give us a job for Christmas.
What is it?
Do you know of any place to find a job at the harbor?
I might know some places around here, but not at the harbor. Sorry.
Is that so?
I hope you all enjoyed. Please tell me what games I missed. Perhaps I'll be able to make a part 3. Please rate the video and consider subscribing, and I'll see you all next time. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.